How feminism is driving the growing trend of anti-women subcultures. Men are disgusted by women in almost every way today. These were the words of a distressing, yet eye-opening conversation I recently had with a longtime male buddy of mine. It came about when he was voicing his frustration over failing to dissuade one of his friends from joining the MGTOW movement. It was distressing to him because he lost another friend to this vile subculture. And it was distressing to me because I've noticed how this trend is growing significantly, albeit quietly. First off, what are the MGTOWs? Imagine yourself as a woman who had been disappointed by her romantic history. She turns her bitterness towards all males by deeming men to be horrible, irredeemably predatory scum. She became this way after being indoctrinated by an ideology that preaches the inherent evilness of masculinity, and therefore must be destroyed. We'd call her a bitter, man-hating, radical feminist. The MGTOWs are essentially the same. MGTOW is short for men going their own way, and its followers pursue a lifestyle of dealing with women as though women are the enemies of all men. They're basically the male version of the man-hating radical feminist. The males of MGTOW view all women as worthless parasites, hell-bent on destroying the lives of men. Therefore, they go their own way and avoid building relationships or friendships with women. A growing trend of anti-women subcultures. The MGTOWs are merely one subset to a growing movement of an underground anti-women subculture. The others are the incels, involuntary celibates, and the PUAs, pickup artists. These males, like their feminist sisters, are people who are corrupted by the least intelligent and utterly damaging ideas of nihilism. Reasons behind the growth. During the conversation, my buddy explained how despite persuading his friend against becoming MGTOW, he was still sympathetic to his friend's excuse for doing so. In his words, men are disgusted with women in almost every way today and are finding happiness in just cutting them out of their lives. He continues, and I can't really argue against anything they MGTOW say because I relate to it all myself. I pressed harder to ask if he could elaborate on exactly what he meant by that. Look around you. Every girl acts like a dude and has to have more guy friends than her actual boyfriend. Relationships are no longer partnerships. They're just mutual debauchery based on meaningless sex and fickle mind games. And in most relationships, I see the women being an overbearing, constantly humiliating their dudes. Relationships are no longer partnerships. They're just mutual debauchery based on meaningless sex and mind games. I stood in momentary silence because I was unsure of how to respond to that. I wanted to hear the uncensored truth from him because he, unlike the women-hating MGTOWs, incels, and PUAs, had never viewed women in this way before. He was brought up in one of those traditionally wholesome, family-oriented Christian household, whereby reverence for women was ingrained in him from a young age. His father and male relatives were his role models because they knew exactly what it meant to be a protector and a provider. Consequently, the women in their lives, like his mother and grandmother, cherished and respected their men for that. It was then that I realized we're in a turning point in history where men no longer hold a reverence for women like they did in previous generations. What changed? Why is this happening? The answer is blatantly clear. Men are losing their reverence for women because feminist ideology promotes the culture of anti-male nihilism through the feminization of men. By extension, it's actively destroying everything that is sacred about women since it robs femininity and masculinity of any meaning. For instance, when my friend mentioned his observation of wives and girlfriends humiliating their partners, this is, in essence, a reflection of the larger cultural trend where women are encouraged to emasculate men. The war against masculine standards. Culture establishes that the ideal woman is smarter, stronger, and better than men in every way, and you can always depend on her to swoop in and save the day. This trope is apparent in just about any family sitcom, movie, music, and literature we consume today. Think about the bumbling fool of a dad contrasted with the highly efficient mom. The problem when we constantly showcase women in this way is how we are presenting women as nothing but a mother figure. This is perilous because it pushes men to subconsciously embrace the role of the puer aeternus, the eternal boy. The man need not grow up because why would he? He has women to bear the burden of life for him. He was raised in a culture where he primarily understands women to be his mother protector, the mother superior. He fits perfectly in the feminist world as the subjugated son of the matriarchy, the feminist's ultimate triumph against their imagined patriarchy. The man need not grow up because why would he? He has women to bear the burden of life for him. Hatred of men breeds hatred of women. It's not a coincidence that feminism brands strong, capable, action-oriented masculinity as toxic, because feminism scorns men for being men. The excesses of the pure eternist psychology, in turn, created the woman-hating subcultures of the MGTOWs, incels, and PUAs. These man-boys behave in hideous, imbecilic, vulgar, and obnoxious fashion. In short, they're born out of their defective philosophical mother, the radical feminist. Just observe the outcome from their ideology by their lifestyle choice of idle and wightless amusement, unthinking video games, absurd genres of porn, and unpalatably barbaric music. These are the effects of a mind corrupted by the destructive ideas of the feminist anti-male nihilism.